Hey y'all, it's Amr. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you might recall that I did a video on easy inputs in fighting games. That's one of my subjects of interest. And with Street Fighter 6 having a very prominently featured modern control scheme that aims to get beginners in, I thought we might look over what exactly that control scheme does, what's interesting about it, where I kind of think it's got some weaknesses and what I think it's strong at, and just basically how it functions, just because there's not a lot of good breakdowns in exactly what this is. So first of all, why is it called modern? Modern control scheme is basically, I guess, referring to the controller itself. Everybody knows Street Fighter is a 6-button fighting game, and unfortunately, most modern controllers have 4 face buttons, which makes it pretty difficult to kind of get all your action buttons on the face buttons, right? You're doing stuff like pressing hard kick on the right trigger or something. It just feels kind of unnatural. As opposed to like other anime games that might be like 4-button fighters or something that kind of fit in easier. So that's part of the reasons why they call it modern. You know, it's a modern control scheme for modern controllers. So you don't need to go buy a $200 PS5 license stick or whatever to play this game. Nobody will feel like they have to do that. It's also just a more beginner-friendly input method, and we're going to get into why. But they've made a bunch of changes to kind of give you some assistance in skipping some of the difficult things that people get tripped up on when starting to play these games and trying to just get them into building a game plan right away. Modern also kind of implies that this is not a casual or stylish mode, as they sometimes called. Easy mode. These kind of control schemes have been around for a long time, but usually they're kind of button mashy. Don't really give you the sense that this is a proper way to play the game. And modern is kind of their way of positioning in that, so to say, hey, this is a control scheme that you can actually play with and compete with, and we'll see if that's true. Very basics. You can look down at the controller. You'll see I'll be using the Xbox One controller. I figure a lot of people will be playing this game on PS5, PS4, or PC, something like that, but, you know, I feel like the Xbox One controller is kind of the default controller for me for, you know, this generation and last generation, and it's going to be what a lot of people are going to be playing on, so I figured I would use that. To start with, there's 3 attack buttons. Light, medium, heavy. Light, medium, heavy. There you go. And you can see that they're just normals. You'll get 3 different normals. There are command normals, and that gets a little weird depending on the character, which command normals they have access to. They may or may not have all their command normals, but you can see just by having only 3 attack buttons instead of 6, they're kind of picking and choosing which ones they think are important. Here you can see Ryu's crouching, his famous crouching medium kick has been picked for the low instead of like the punch, because everybody knows this is the button you're going to poke with. And of course, while most of his standing moves are his famous punch moves, we do have some kicks over here for closing the distance, this classic move here, and then for the crouching move we picked crouching heavy. This is Ryu's famous anti-air. And you might have saw right there, I pressed the little SP button. That is the 4th button for modern control scheme. That is your special button. You push it, it'll give you a special move. You push a different direction, gives you a different special move. Almost Smash-like. You will notice there's some differences here. There's not really any up specials, obviously, because up is going to make you jump, and they kind of wanted to avoid making you do that. Sometimes some characters do have air specials. But I'm not sure if you can get them on this control skip. We'll have to double check that. Another big change is anything that's like a DP motion. Normally you do like a dragon punch to do. You will press forward and punch. This is kind of mimic the fact that you have to stop blocking to do them. So basically you have to let go to be able to do them, to keep that kind of risk factor in. You're not going to be doing DPs from a crouch guard. The other buttons are, we've got the universal parry here, And then we've got the drive rush. Or sorry, drive rush, drive impact, which is kind of their focus attack, like armored move to take a hit and go through it. Now, interesting, this is, you might have noticed that there is one more button here. Well, two more buttons, but we'll get to the other one. This one is your supers. This game has brought back multiple level supers, and they actually all have, it's not like alpha style where you press the strength of attack when you do the super and it gives you like it spends a different amount of meter. Each of the supers are a distinct input and a distinct level of strength. If you just press the super button, you get this level 1 super. If you press, I think it's back in super, yes, you get the level 2 super. If you press down and super, you get the level 3 super cinematic super. So let's talk about that assist button. This I have on my right trigger. If you hold it down, it doesn't do anything by itself. But as you notice, you know, we only have 6 normals plus whatever command normals we got here. To get some of those normals back, you can hold down the assist button and you can press light, medium, heavy. That will give you 3 more normals. Then these are his Ryu's normal lights in modern controls. If you press it with assist, he'll give you this, which I think is a standing light kick. If you press it with medium, I think this is crouching medium punch. And then heavy, you'll get this famous command double hitting command normal. All right. I don't know if the properties are different. I'm pretty sure most of the properties are the same, but I could be wrong. And, you know, all that stuff is really subject to change. This is information as of the Capcom Street Fighter 6 closed beta 2, so by the time this releases, this might be slightly different. They might have tweaked some of these things, so just keep that in mind. Importantly, when you hold down the assist button, the normals you get, it does not matter if you're crouching or standing. It will just pick a crouching or standing attack that Capcom has decided is best for the situation. But more importantly, if you keep mashing this button, it will automatically confirm into a combo. Depending on the strength of button you use, that'll be a combo with a special, maybe an EX special and a super. So here's light. You can see it's just simple command, confirm, light kick, bam, kick him up against the wall. Here's medium. You can see you use an EX, spend some of that meter, and use your super. Again, supers in this game have a separate bar than your drive meter. Your drive meter is what you use for most EXs. And then if you do the heavy, you know, you'll do an EX and you'll do the super. Obviously, you need to have the meter for that. So if you don't have the meter, he will not complete the complete combo. And these are not obviously the best combos, but they're very simple, just like ways to get it confirmed. You can kind of confirm off your normals into one of these. It's going to be pretty hard just because, unlike kind of an anime fighter, everything does not cancel into everything. So whatever normal you're using has to already confirm into whatever other, you know, move that they decided is going to be next. And most of the time, it's just not going to work. So if you're just doing standing heavy punch, and then you want to mash on the assist, that's not going to be a combo. Most of the time, you're going to have to start from whatever starter they decided that combo starts with. And so you can kind of already see the limitations of that system. You're losing half your normals, maybe more, already, just from the, you know, cut down and having 3 less buttons. That's kind of already a big nerf, but maybe for you it's worth it to get a little bit of the simplified inputs. Another big big change in a big nerf to the modern control scheme is going to be, obviously having one button specials is going to make it much easier to do moves and link into them, right? You can kind of just mash. I don't think that actually works. I don't think that's a real combo, at least in this one. But if you see, if I do a Hadoken here, you can, if you look up at the top middle, it says damage. My damage is at 80%. Immediately, whatever move I do is going to be scaled 80%. So I'm taking a 20% damage penalty for using this. This is kind of, I guess, their way of deciding to balance the ease of the specials. And then, well, let's see. Is there heavier scaling on combos? But there is sort of a workaround in that you can just do the specials. So this is kind of, if you ever played like one of Aiden's versus Capcom games, like a Tatsunoko versus Capcom or Marvel versus Capcom 3, you'll kind of see some of, it's kind of like making them into a Marvel character, not in terms of like combo viability and ease of use or anything. You don't get all the weird cancels or anything. But in terms of like how they strip down their moveset and decide what's important, you can you get less normals, and they kind of cherry pick which normals, but you can still do the different strengths of attacks. You can see here I'm doing light, medium, heavy. Light, medium, heavy Hadoken, whereas if I press the special button, I only get the one type of Hadoken. Like I can do a light Hadoken, you can see that goes pretty slow. You'll get a pretty fast Hadoken. So that's going to kind of like make your game plan a little bit more predictable already. You can get like a little short medium DP or heavy DP if you do the input. If I do the special version, I think I always get heavy DP, which is going to obviously leave you a little more vulnerable. And then obviously, because there's no differentiation between punch and kicks, especially with this cast in Street Fighter 6, where they have way more moves, you're just going to straight up lose access to some moves. Normally, if you do quarter circle back and you press an attack button, you'll get his Ryu's Tatsumaki Senpuyaku. I'm going to have to look that up. I never know how to say that. If you do this with the buttons as a command, you'll get his new like close range Hadoken, which I guess they just decided is more important to his game plan than the Tatsu. Which I guess fair enough. I think heavy Tatsu has some anti-fireball properties, but usually you're not going to be using it for that because of the wind-up, so they kind of decided this special is more important. And I feel like we're going to see some some choices for each characters that people might not agree with as far as modern controls go when it comes to that. So, you're losing a lot of your functions. Let me show you real quick. Chun-Li, we're going to go to Classic here just to show something off. So Chun-Li has a new stance here, and from the stance you can push different buttons to get different normals. Here's her like sweep punch that was good for getting under fireballs and stuff. Basically do quarter circle back punch, and you push the medium punch button to do that. And it's like basically just here's 6 new normals, new and old, that you can do, which will change up your game plan and her controls. So that's how that stance works in classic controls. We're going to switch over back to modern controls, and you can kind of see if you do the quarter circle back, you're going to get this move instead, which is also the down special. There's no way to go into her stance at all from modern controls, so you just kind of lose access to like 6 extra normals, utility normals that you would get just like that, just for switching over, which is unfortunate. You know, they decided adding this here. They decided this is the essential quarter circle back move, which I don't really know how to integrate into combos yet, but we'll see. While we're here, you can see if you press a special in the air, Chun-Li will do her lightning kicks, so that's cool. That's a nice combo tool. Let's see. But that brings us to, you might be curious about how do charge moves work in this game. You will not be skipping the charge. If you see, if I press back and press special, I'm getting lightning kicks, which is actually her neutral special. This is forward special, which is, again, a DP style move. If you press down, you'll get this one. And then you can get other specials from, like bird kick, EX bird kick from the assist combos. There's no way to do bird kick raw, not that you would most of the time, but they just decided, you know, that's, for as iconic as special it is not as important to her game plan in neutral anyway. Again, but going back to the charge bit, to do charges you just hold back or you hold down, and then once you have a significant amount of charge, you can press the special button and they will do it. If you're holding down back, interestingly, it will always default to the down special, so you do have to let go of down and just get a straight back if you want to do that. Again, you can do the manual inputs for the charge motions, and honestly I kind of end up doing them anyway, just kind of out of like force of habit. It feels kind of weird to just, I'm gonna let go anyway, so it feels kind of weird to just hold back and then press the button. But on a controller, I feel like on a controller, like pushing the forward doesn't make a big difference. On like an arcade stick where you kind of got a lot of travel between back and forward, it kind of does. But again, this is like more of a very controller-based control scheme. You're not going to be seeing people with arcade sticks play this, I don't think. It just kind of doesn't make sense on the way the 6-button layout works. And if you and let's be honest, if you're buying a $200 arcade stick or whatever, you are already decided that you're never going to touch this control scheme. Some other miscellaneous stuff I wanted to go over. We're going to switch here to Kimberly. And I want her specifically because Kimberly has a bunch of target combos. And in modern control scheme, if you just mash the light button, or the medium button, it'll go into her target combos. And you can see I can do crouching light. I can do crouching light again and get a follow-up, and then I can stand and get the rest of that combo. So I have like a new way to confirm that. I don't think this works with medium. I don't think those cancel into each other. But you can do that for lights. It seems like there is. Is there a follow-up for this? No, only for standing. It's not really a follow-up for this one. But you know, that's pretty interesting. You know, they got different. She also has a different command normals, but that's kind of like on a kind of alternative look into what this combo system could have been, because you can see those mashing these light buttons is different than what you get if you mash light with an assist. You'll get your poke and you'll get your special follow-up. I don't know if you can go into a super from that. It seems kind of restrictive on the timing of that. So that's something we're gonna have to test more. and you know the routes can always change. But that's the medium, and then this is the heavy, you know. So it's pretty interesting as an alternative, and honestly, I kind of like the way that feels. There's a reason they probably didn't do that, and we'll get into some comparison with other games just to kind of show that off. But that's kind of how modern controls work in a nutshell. So what do I think about Street Fighter 6's modern controls? Overall, I'm pretty glad that they put serious work into kind of, it seems like, really getting people into it, especially the new tutorial systems or single player modes. You know, they have everything. It's a fully featured game from the go. This is not a game that's going to take 5 years to mature. And there's tutorials, and there's new control schemes like this, and the dynamic mode for people who just kind of want to jump in. I think all of that's great. I like the simple special system. Overall, I think they made a lot of compromises, which are pretty hard compromises to make, and they made some hard decisions, and not that like I agree with every one of their choices on like what special should be on what, and things like that. I also kind of think that it's a little bit conservative. I do like that you can do the normal special, get the full damage, but I also feel like there's no reason to preemptively nerf the damage on the simple specials. I know like all the old heads are going to complain that like everybody can do one button Shoryukens on them, and just mash DP on wake up like it's super easy now, for like, you know, barely any penalty. People are going to be complaining that even with the nerf to damage, they're going to be complaining that people can do that just because they have that utility. They're going to be annoyed. But fuck them. like seriously, like the amount of nerfs you get to your character by losing so many normals, so many specials, so many different utilities. You lose so much utility that I feel like just losing, you know, being able to do it slightly faster, like, does not give you so much more advantage to offset the fact that you're taking a damage penalty. Granted, damage penalty is not that high, but if you want to position this as like a real alternative, a modern control scheme, that's like immediately going to tell people who want to compete, who want to learn the game, this is not the way to learn the game. This is your training wheels. This is the thing that you do before you learn how to do a proper combo, you know. Like you can see this, the scaling on well, maybe it's not that bad. Let's see. Oh yeah, right. You can see the scaling here. It goes down to 64% when I do the combo. If I confirm into it the normal way, you know, you get 80% scaling. But if you do the special button version, it's down to 64. You just take huge damage to your combo. You take huge damage penalty to your specials. Let's see the supers, actually. I didn't even test that. Yeah, you lose a lot. You're immediately putting yourself on the back foot just by having access to all the buttons. And I think if you want people to get in, like, telling them, like, yeah, you're just going to be... everything that you do is going to be a worse version of doing it normally. You're just telling them, you know, these are your training wheels. You need to take them off. But to that point, I think it's kind of hard to transition from, like, these... assisted combos to going to the full 6-button control scheme, because the buttons don't correlate. This assisted button is like pretty sure like forward heavy. It changes. I think it changes depending on the game. It's like forward heavy command normal. It's not, you know, assist plus heavy. It's not your heavy button. You don't have the sweep, for example. Like, you can't sweep. You completely lost your ability to just, you know, sweep and and get the knockdown on there. You've lost so much, and you don't know how they would follow up. You're basically just going to start from scratch if you move from modern control scheme to the full classic control scheme. And I think like you can like kind of get the game plan. Like you're like, oh yeah, you shoot the fireball when they try to jump in on you. You do the classic, sure you can, and then you can apply that game plan. But like that's the important stuff of like what normal I should use in this situation, the kind of like spacing game. You get a little bit of it, and they're kind of assisting you by like, you know, picking and choosing which ones are the normals you should use in a situation, which are your important normals. These are your 6 important normals, right? And this is how you connect things. You can see a little bit of it, but then you're going to have to be like, okay, what is this move, and then what is this follow-up move? Because this follows up into, you know, crouching medium, but you don't know that because your crouching medium is crouching medium kick, not crouching medium punch. And yeah, I just think it's really conservative in that way. I would like to also see, like, I don't like that you don't get a different starter off of the crouching. Like, it'll make you stand or crouch just depending on what normal they decided is your starter. And I would like to see, like, you know, an assist combo that's like a standing assist combo and a crouching assist combo, so then you kind of get a little bit more of that utility back. Like, I don't think people are gonna be getting super far in this tournament. I think you're actively like, and you know, this is kind of like a moot point because I don't think like everybody who's picking. I think if you're picking modern control schemes, you're not somebody who's like, I'm going to enter a tournament. But I think if Capcom is positioning it as the modern control scheme, the control scheme for controller, hey, you could just play this game out the box. They've already kind of nerfed themselves and nerfed people. Was a kind of ability to continue to learn and compete by some of the choices that they've made here. I would like to see something closer to like the auto combo system of like Melty Blood, where you know, not necessarily like you had mashed the same button. Because, you know, if you got characters who have auto combos, like Ryu has a medium auto combo, you can mash medium and get that, right? He doesn't have a light combo because he's got the one target combo. If you're Kimberly, you have like another target combo, right? And the rules are kind of consistent. Like Kimberly has light, but Ryu has medium because he has those two, and then heavy target because he's got, you know, those two target combos that are like built-in strings that will connect to each other. So the rules just kind of are inconsistent, and they're, you know, the Street Fighter's a game with a lot of character variety and a lot of character specific stuff that you're going to have to learn anyway. So it's not necessarily like an outright bad thing, but it kind of muddles the water on like, where's my route from trying this, figuring out the game plan, and moving that to another, you know, the regular classic control scheme. They leave so much on the table, and I even think like, you know, Guilty Gear and Melty Blood, they showed that like you can use the diagonal. You don't need to like. I get why they don't use the diagonals for the specials, because they want like to reduce the margin of error there. But it's like 2 extra specials you could have with your character. Like I don't see why I can't have like a down back to do this, and then a back and special to do you know, Tatsu or whatever, you know. It's just kind of weird. That said, I am interested in this control scheme, and I am interested in seeing like how much utility you can actually get. Like when this game comes out, I want to take this shit on ranked and fucking see who's gonna fall for it. You know, how much easier will it be for somebody like me who generally has a hard time figuring out what my follow-ups are, what my who can move, who can position themselves, who can get the hit, but has no idea what to do after that. This has solved my problem. There you go. You hit the buttons, and then and it'll be a little more fun to like figure out like yeah, can I do this and then can I mash this one to get the juggle? What supers come out of this one? There's still some of that kind of lab mentality stuff that's really interesting, I think. But let's see. Yeah, like, you know, you can still cancel stuff into other stuff, and figuring out the cancel routes and like all that stuff is still pretty interesting. But man, look at that damage nerf, you know. It's gonna be, I'm good, and maybe that's like in a practical situation. That's not going to matter more than me being able to consistently do an input, right? Like that did like half damage. And look, but I don't know, like that did like half damage, and this is like what, quarter damage? And then like you can still get the half damage here, but this is like still less than like doing the manual input and like uses more resources. So it'll be interesting to see like how practical that is. But right now I just kind of think that they're a little conservative. They held back a lot and try not to, you know, upset their old player base who already are yelling about how this is broken and it's a huge problem. And I just don't think that's true. I think they can go further with it, and I hope they go further with it and add more options for the people who want to play with this. And, you know, they just want to play on a normal controller and not get an arcade stick, and don't want to press, you know, the shoulder buttons for heavy punch and heavy kick. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this rather long look and analysis of the modern control scheme, and I hope some of y'all, you know, try it out. Let me know what your feelings are when this game comes out. If you played the beta with it, let me know how that went. And if you're just like more casual player who like doesn't really care about those competitive aspects, or like doesn't, you know, or is not at the level where you like really want to bother thinking about them, just let me know. Let me know at all levels kind of like what your feelings are, because I have a very specific angle that I'm coming from, and comparing, and different games I'm comparing it to, and building kind of a wish list there, rather than coming from a kind of coming from scratch or coming from like a neutral position. Anyway, until next time, see ya.